recently in this Manafort trial, it's sort of confusing everything that went on, especially in 2016. And that was at the beginning of 2016 in March, and that was way before Trump was elected. But they had certain things that Manafort and Gates did with Trump before he was elected, and then they had some financial schemes going the same time, and all this was in court, would come out in court the last 10 days when the main witness was Gates in court. But what I was going to do is go over the Trump campaign first, because they started working with Trump in March 2016 when Trump hired Manafort to work for the Republican convention. And then Rick Gates joined as a deputy. That was in March 2016. Then in April 2016, Manafort had an extended campaign role. Then in May 2016, Manafort was appointed he had a campaign chairman and chief strategist. Then in July of 2016, Manafort and Gates attended the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. Then in August of 2016, the Times, New York Times, reported on a ledger listing undisclosed cash payments earmarked for Manafort from a pro-Russian political party. That was in August of 2016. Then in September 2016, Trump hired Stephen Bannon as campaign chief, and Mr. Manafort resigned 2 days later. But Mr. Gates still stayed on with the campaign. Then 2016, Trump was elected, and Gates eventually worked on his inaugural committee. And then in November 2016, Mr. Manafort asked Gates to promote Mr. Kalk, C-A-L-K, for a position in the administration. 2016 in March, for the financial schemes that they were working at the same time. All these things were coming up with Trump's campaign. Okay. In March 2016, Manafort secured a $3.4 million mortgage loan using false information. Debt and inflated his income with the help of Mr. Gates and his accountant. That was to get a mortgage, I think, in Brooklyn. I forget which one, on a place he had. Then in May of 2016, he obtained a $1 million business loan from Bank of California using false information. Ooh. Then in May of 2016, Mr. Gates helped Manafort attempt to secure a fraudulent construction loan. And then we're moving down to July of 2016. Stephen M. Kalk, the founder and chief executive of the Federal Savings Bank of Chicago, helps expedite a loan approval for Mr. Manafort. Days later, Mr. Manafort asked Mr. Kalk for his resume. Then in October 2016, Mr. Manafort tells Mr. Kalk that he must have had a blackout when he misrepresented his debts to him during a previous lunch. Then Gates helps in October 2016. Mr. Gates helps Mr. Manafort doctor profit and loss statements to inflate his income for lenders. Then the final one in November of 2016, that was also the time Trump was elected. Mr. Kalk, C-A-L-K, the head of that bank in Chicago, for a $9.5 million loan for Mr. Manafort, and then his bank later approved another $6.5 million loan.
Wow.
All these facts that I talked about Trump's campaign and the financial schemes have all been laid out at the trial that's going on right now for Manafort. The only thing that I haven't seen now, the papers and all that were submitted for the loans, which you have to do. If you're going to get a loan, you've got to submit papers. And financial statements and business tax returns and whatever, showing that you're entitled to the loan, showing you can pay back the loans. So those papers I haven't seen. I assume they were submitted to the court when this testimony was given. But right now, the last part, Manafort asked Gates to promote Mr. Kalk for a position in administration. That's what Mr. Kalk wanted, a position in Trump administration. And I guess for that, he helped Manafort get these two loans from his which bank he is the founder of, called Federal Savings Bank of Chicago. He helped them get two loans, $9.5 million, and then he helped them get another loan for $6.5 million. But those things are going on in the trial now for Manafort. Manafort hasn't testified yet. I don't know if Manafort will testify. But I got a feeling that Manafort should try to work something out. I don't know. The judge in that trial is pretty rough. In fact, he won't let Manafort, during the trial in court, look at his wife. He says, you cannot look at your wife. And I better not catch you looking at your wife. She was sitting there watching the trial. I never really heard of that before, but that's what the judge in this case said.
Wow.
Thank you. You'll like that one, right?